Today we're going to be making pumpkin cranberry scones. So let's get started. In a large bowl you're going to need 2 cups of flour, a 1/3 cup of lightly packed light brown sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and you're going to put in a 1/2 cup of very cold butter. Everything in this recipe that's cold has to be very cold. If it's not cold, your scones are going to come out kind of dry and dense and all that. So what we did was we took a 1/2 cup of butter and we put it through our food processor. You can use a grater. If you don't have any of that, just cut it into chunks because we're still going to cut it in. I just don't want to handle it with my hands too much because my hands are really hot. So whisk together your dry ingredients, then you're going to put your butter in. I know it's a little bit more dishes, but it makes the scones so much better. Just make sure you get as much out as you can. Okay, now I'm going to take my pastry blender, that's what this is called, and we're just going to cut in our butter into our flour, and we want it to be kind of like a coarse crumble, maybe like pea size, whatever, just a crumble. So I'm going to get started on that. And with my butter being in small chunks, it's not going to take too long for me to do this, which makes it a lot easier. Because I kept my butter in the freezer.
And then we ran it through the food processor. Trying to keep everything as cold as possible,
yes,
as long as possible.
Oh, and while you're starting this, before you even start, get a 1/2 cup, let me make sure I'm right, 1/2 cup of cranberry, dried cranberries like craisins, and put them in boiling water to soak for 30 minutes. Once 30 minutes is up, drain them, kind of pat them dry, and put them to the side, okay? And you're going to need buttermilk for this recipe, and you only need a 1/2 cup, so I wasn't going to buy it, so I made it. So what you do is you take a 1/2 cup of whole milk, and a 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice, and you mix it together and let it sit until it curdles. That's all you need to do. You just want to make sure this is throughout the flour so that the butter really bakes into those scones and it makes them rise really nice and taste amazing. Alright, so I think this is pretty good because mine was really small. And it's just in crumble pieces, as you can see. Okay, so I'm going to set that to the side. And now we're going to get, let me see, a 1/2 cup of your buttermilk, a 1/2 cup of pure pumpkin, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to put it in here and we're going to whisk it till it's smooth. I already have my stuff measured out because I made it, I wanted it really cold. So I'm just going to pour this in. And I am going to just whisk it till it's really smooth. Once this is nice and smooth, doesn't take much. And you're using pure pumpkin, not pumpkin pie
Filling,
because that has all the stuff you need that we're adding in this, okay? So now we're going to take our dry ingredients and we're going to add our wet to our dry. You're going to preheat your oven to 375. There's a lot of stuff to do ahead of time, that's why I'm kind of like jumping around, but it's really easy. And if you've never made scones, this is one of the easier recipes. Alright, once you get your wet into your dry, you're going to add a quarter cup of crystallized ginger. I got this in the Asian department in the grocery store. I didn't do quite quarter cup. It says scant quarter cup. I'm only going to do a little bit less than that. And I chopped it up really fine. Throw that in. And now you're going to throw in your cranberries. And now we're just going to mix this until it's combined. Now, with scones, you do not, and I mean do not, want to overmix, okay? Just until it's combined. Once you just have this combined, like I said, don't overmix. You will have the toughest scones ever if you overmix this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, the dough's wet, so don't worry. We're going to take a little bit of flour on our hands and we're just going to kind of knead this together 4 or 5 times. Okay, so now we're going to just put this into a circle that is 8 inches round and 1.5 inches thick.
Or thereabouts.
Or thereabouts. Alright, so I'm just going to put this on my parchment lined paper before I cut it. Which might have not been the smartest thing I've ever done in my life, but I can fix it. The reason I did it this way is it's really sticky. Just go back in, let me get a little bit of flour on my hands. Here, I have some here. Just a real little bit of flour. And just put it back into shape. It really doesn't matter. They're going to be delicious. Now, when I made these the last time, when I cut them, I put them on individual pieces onto the tray. What happened was these scones spread a lot. Normally scones don't spread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave mine in the circle. I'm going to cut it. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut it in half. Like that, okay? And then you're going to cut it in half again. So now you have 4 pieces. And then, let me wipe my knife. You're going to cut each of those 4 pieces down the middle. So then you're having 2 pieces. So you're going to have 8 pieces altogether, okay? I know I could have went this way, but it's just easier doing 1 piece at a time so it doesn't stick so bad. And then we're going to put this into our preheated oven for 20 to 25 minutes or until a toothpick goes in and comes out with just a little bit of crumb on it. Alright, before you put it in the oven, you need a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. You're going to brush the tops of your scones with the heavy cream.
We almost forgot.
Just the tops. I noticed it. That's why I like to pull my ingredients out ahead of time a little bit so I remember. I put it all together, that way when one's still sitting here I'm like, oh, I know I missed something. Okay.
And we miss a lot.
Yeah. Nothing new here. Alright, now we're going to put it in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Alright, so mine took 20 minutes and the toothpick came out with just like 1 or 2 crumbs on it. Perfect. Now we're going to let this cool for 15 minutes and then I'm going to take it off the tray and let it cool totally before we move on to the next step. Alright, so once your scones are nice and cool, we're going to move on to, it's a whipped maple butter to put on top. You need 1 cup of heavy cream really cold, a 1/4 cup of real maple syrup. Do not use like Mrs. Butterworth's or Log Cabin or Log something. Don't use it. It has to be pure maple syrup. We're lucky we live in Ohio and we have it all over here. And then just a pinch of sea salt. You're going to beat this until it's light and fluffy like a butter. So, and once it gets to that butter stage, stop beating it, okay? So I'm going to start out on low, and I'm just going to let this come together, and then I'll turn it up gradually until I get to the speed I need. Alright, so I beat the frosting until it was light and fluffy. I actually cut the scones with a knife after they were cooled, and they are perfect. So you're going to serve the butter alongside your scone. And I just did mine really fancy with a cookie scoop. So if you try this, let me know how you like it, what you would change. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you do you.